It was hard for me to call him Snowy. For me, it's Milou. You know, I was working with my friend who's American, and I said, please help me with my lines. And I read, Tintin looks at Snowy. And I read Snowy, I thought it was a description of the weather or something. You know, I said, look at Snowy. Well, okay, they're gonna put some snow in this scene. It's gonna be like special effect. So my friend said, no, Snowy is someone. He didn't know the comic book. So he said, no, I think Snowy is someone. I said, no, it's impossible. So the guy said, there's a dog in this movie? I said, yes, why? It's Snowy. Oh no, it's Milou, please. You cannot, it's Milou.
Tintin starts off on that very first adventure with one companion, one very loyal companion, a little dog, a little white fox terrier. Fox terriers aren't normally completely white, but Snowy is an exception. Now, Hergé had come up with the name Tintin. He liked the sound of it. What would he call the dog? Well, he'd had a girlfriend, a girl who he really very much loved, and she loved him, called Marie-Louise van Cutsem, Milou for short. And so as a tribute to this great love of his great first love of his, called Tintin's first and closest companion, Milou. Unfortunately, that is lost in translation in English, where we have Snowy, which is a very nice name for a dog, but it doesn't reflect that particular love interest.
What is it, Snowy?
I think sometimes Tintin makes a great sidekick to Snowy. For the most part, Snowy is Tintin's loyal mascot and helper, but there are times where Tintin owes a great deal to the contribution Snowy makes to the adventure.
It's good to see you too. See if you can chew through these ropes.
I mean, Snowy is Tintin's faithful friend. He's his long-standing best friend in the whole world.
Thank you.
And I think in this movie, I've always tried to pay very close attention, as is Stephen and Peter, to always including Snowy. I mean, because we don't have a real dog to work with, it is sometimes very easy to forget him or leave him out. Brad Elliott, who's our props guy, who is actually, really bringing Snowy to life, and we're interacting as actors. He's always behind me in a scene where I'm always telling him to do things so that Tintin and Snowy have interaction with each other. He's really worked incredibly hard. I mean, there's a lot of scenes where we're running around and he's really keeping up with me full step. He's done an absolutely incredible job. He's a puppeteer in his own right.
One of my favorite things to do on this movie, and it's a great privilege, is that I get to manipulate Snowy. It's my job on the set to make sure that there's something for Jamie Bell to interact with.
Well done, Snowy.
To have something in the volume, in the space, in that moment that's there and real, and it takes the size and shape, and they can interact with it.
We have versions of Snowy. We have the stuffy Snowy, which is the soft Snowy, so that they can jump on him and squeeze him. We have roller Snowy, so when he needs to run, he's on wheels. We have the hard Snowy, so that when he has to fall or something like that, we don't damage him. And then we just have cutout Snowy, so we have reference of Snowy everywhere.
Snowy is a character living within this world as strongly as Tintin and Haddock. But of course, he doesn't have the gift of human language. He has to evoke and emote these complex feelings and emotions towards Tintin and Haddock, and frustration with their decisions sometimes, but it's all through body language. Now, trying to bring that to the anatomical structure of a believable animal that has no ability to stretch and move the skull, widen or tighten the eyes, becomes a complex design issue. One of the tools that we used was to sculpt Snowy in 3D, and Greg Tozer did some very beautiful studies of Snowy that really helped us at an illustrative level to sort of break free a little bit and start to discover the character within Snowy. Using real dogs, of course, is always a treat too, and we had a very Snowy-like dog in our workshop for a long time that came invaluable to the process of designing. So it all made for a great fun design period.
Of course, the real character and performance of Snowy is going to be animation as opposed to motion capture, and that is the job of the animators at Weta Digital.
The animation process for Snowy was we would have a previous template and a rough idea on where the director would want Snowy in shot, and it's up to the animator to try and bring him to life and bring a performance of their own to Snowy.
My wallet. It's gone. Come on! Snowy, after it! Stop! Wait!
Once we'd shot it all, the animators would come in and further flesh out and put the real character into Snowy, and we often thought of lots of gags and lots of things which stemmed from the books, his mischievous nature. When we came to animation, we were able to really go to town on that side of things.
Snowy's obviously a great character and one that we focused on because he is so animation driven. We did some tests early on with performance capture just to make sure we understood the proper realistic motion of Snowy. But because you can't actually have a dog directed to act exactly as you need in each of the scenes, that became just a reference in the animators' minds and just something that they could have for inspiration. But then the animators would have to go in and set keyframes for all of Snowy's poses in each of the shots.
You know, any character that's got fur is always a challenge, but Snowy is so iconic and so specific that, yes, we did look at a lot of real dogs, a lot of dogs that we knew had inspired Hergé, but Snowy is a very, very specific look to the dog.
Because Snowy had very curly white fur, technically that presents a challenge because fur becomes really difficult to work with. So what we did is we created a tool for the people modeling Snowy's fur to be able to go in and just brush it. They could treat it like real fur and go in and just comb the fur and comb it into the curls that they needed, and then that would allow us to simulate the curls, doing all the proper bounce, and Snowy would run around through the shot. What's interesting about Snowy is he really understands what's going on in the film, oftentimes ahead of everyone else. And you can see that a lot in his performance. He watches, he pays attention, he figures things out, and he tries to make things happen. So he's the one that actually guides us along a couple of the key moments of the journey. He's so human in that regard that he really becomes part of the storytelling.
Snowy, what have you done?
I spent a few months researching and recording dogs, trying to find the material that might become part of Snowy or might not. And then the back half of the job spent actually cutting the material together and actually putting the voice on Snowy himself. The voice for Snowy is a mixture of probably 25 different dogs, some used in very small sections, some used just for a sniff or a slurp. For the most part, it's 3 or 4 key dogs. There's Mutter, the miniature schnauzer, who does the bark and the interesting growling stuff.
A giant rat of Sumatra!
Play the authentic miniature schnauzer. And so here's the pitched down version. We basically just slow it down in pitch. So that sort of does 2 things. One, it makes the dog bigger and more heroic. And 2, it sort of reveals a bit more of that gravelly character. Sputnik does 90% of the expressive, the question marks, the disgruntled noises, all those little, amazing little vocalizations that Snowy has to do to express that range of emotion.
Oh, and then shines forth the eagle's cross.
And then there's Zeph, who does all the sort of concerned noises, slightly worried noises, all the little vocal whines. There's a great sequence where the Rottweiler's chasing Tintin and Snowy through the woods, and Snowy makes his heroic entrance and stares down the dog and barks so loudly, he barks him into submission. So I'll play a little section of that.
Well done, Snowy. Good boy.
Yeah, a hero.
You know, people adore Snowy. He's such a huge character, hugely important character, and you're always thinking about Snowy's journey as well.
I was terrified that Snowy gets the last word in the film. I laboured over it. I had about 5 or 6 different versions of it at one point, trying to decide exactly how much excitement I had, or it's bizarre to see so much in a bark.
It's Milou, please. You cannot. It's Milou.